We'd spoken to Dave Weigel at the beginning of our coverage last night, and on this story of the nearly double the amount of money that poured into Democratic primaries in 2022 versus 2020. Nearly double. And a lot of that money was from Republican donors through these PACs that, sort of like generated out of AIPAC. Republican donors and centrist Democratic donors and millionaires and crypto millionaires and a lot of them lost.
Which is so sweet. One, like the amount of money that's pouring in indicates that they view these candidates as threats, and they also view a consolidated progressive wing that's more than just, 8, 10 squad members, but increasing in numbers. They're fearful of that 100%. And then the cherry on top, or really, the best news of the evening, is that in most cases it did not succeed. And
the value of that is not just in these specific races, but also in the fact that it's going to be harder for those campaign operatives to go back to these billionaires and say, oh, look, this is tried and tested.
Here's the return on your investment.
And so that, they'll be less inclined to do this maybe in the future. In terms of like our scorecard last night, Charles Booker won. It looks like Jamie McLeod Skinner in Oregon won, beating out an incumbent guy who was basically slammed for being a Joe Manchin, wouldn't vote for the Build Back Better bill.
He cut the prescription drug pricing part of the bill so thoroughly in the House, and then Manchin and Sinema, kind of eliminated altogether in the Senate.
Yeah, right. Kurt Schrader took $1 million, I think, from the pharmaceutical industry.
Yes. He also reportedly called the impeachment of Trump during debates about it a, quote, lynching. So he's that kind of Democrat.
Yeah, besides Cuellar, he was, I think the worst House Democrat
100%.
left.
And he was endorsed sort of rather publicly by Joe Biden. Connor Lamb also obviously got beat by... Shellacked by Fetterman.
And then Biden endorsed Fetterman after that. So there's... whatever.
Well, it's fine. Steve Irwin also lost, who was one of these like corporate Dems who got, I think it was over $1 million were poured into his campaign from those like AIPAC derivative PACs. And he lost. And he lost to Summer Lee. And here's the campaign speech he gave, or I should say the acceptance speech last night. There was also some pickups in the state Senate in Pennsylvania. We'll go through these more, but overall, pretty good. And you can watch, if you are interested in more information about Summer Lee, you can watch the interview that Emma did with her on from March 24th of this year.
Yeah. she was excellent. I mean, I think I remarked to Bradley and Matt after the interview. I've had a handful of interviews with politicians where you're wowed by them. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was one. Jamal Bowman was another. Summer Lee was one for me as well. And so I am incredibly excited about this victory. One, for what it signals and what you laid out well, Sam. But two, just the twin victories of Fetterman and Summer Lee in Pennsylvania. That's the coalition that you want. And you said this a bit last night. I mean, one, they both were heavily supportive of the labor movement, things like the PRO Act. Unions, being pro-union, was front-facing in their politics. Summer Lee has a background, I believe, either endorsed by DSA or was a part of DSA. So just really encouraging signs all across the board in terms of Pennsylvania in general. Just the twin victories of Fetterman and Summer Lee in Pennsylvania. That's the coalition that you want. And you said this a bit last night. I mean, one, they both were heavily supportive of the labor movement, things like the PRO Act. Unions, being pro-union, was front-facing in their politics. Summer Lee has a background, I believe, either endorsed by DSA or was a part of DSA. So just really encouraging signs all across the board in terms of Pennsylvania in general.
And here is, of all people, Chris Wallace on CNN now recapping the night for progressives.
I will say I have to disagree slightly with the previous panel, because while his authenticity and down-to-earthness, if there's such a phrase, played very well in the Democratic primary, you get to a general election, particularly if you end up with a moderate like Dave McCormick, there are a lot of things that the Republicans are going to have to work with in going after John Fetterman. This is a guy who is against limits on abortion. He's for universal background checks. He wants to end the filibuster. He wants to legalize pot.
What? So unpopular to legalize pot. Gosh, that is what a liability. I would love the Republican candidate to run on "I will never ever legalize pot in this state." It is just Chris Wallace maybe might need to spend some time with the kids a little bit. And by kids, I mean anyone under the age of I don't know.
Well, he says Fetterman's down to earth, probably because he just he would understand that,
Yeah.
right? He gets what the kids are all about.
What do they say? Down to earth authenticity. What do these words mean? I have no idea. I'm Chris Wallace. I've been in the news studio for 40 years.
Yeah,
it really exactly. And of all places, too, Fox, where it was just the fact that I wasn't bat crap crazy was enough for me to establish an entire career. But I think Fetterman's a very strong candidate, and we'll talk more about that as the weeks go on and the program proceeds.